right, so this is fourth segment of the PowerPoints in the last few slides. Then there will be a couple of video links and audio links that I want you to take a look at and answer some questions based on those, just mostly reflection. But when we are looking at the American history timeline after the Roaring Twenties, of course, then we get the Great Depression. And the novel that we're going to read of Mice and Men, which I may have talked about a little bit before we left in March, takes place during the Great Depression. So we will be reading probably several different texts, paired readings to go along with the novel to give you a deeper understanding of what our landscape was like, our society was like during the Great Depression. But this is really where, especially artists like authors, started to continue to look at this idea of the American dream and how it is reflected in reality. The Great Depression, of course, led to a loss of hope in many Americans, not just several Americans, but many. Um, I don't think you all necessarily have um, access to grandparents or great grandparents, perhaps, but I remember my grandparents who lived through the Depression talk about just certain things in the way that they lived their life were directly because of what they experienced in the Great Depression. Their um, mistrust of banks, for instance, things like that. But there was still this idea that um, the American dream would still be achievable. It still existed. It may have been altered greatly or even just slightly. And I think a lot of historians and people who were reflecting on the time, artists in particular, maybe saw some truths that um, the average American did not necessarily see. But we'll be coming back to this Great Depression quite a bit. Then we have the resurgence after post World War II. This is where we saw a great economic, blah, 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 sorry, an economic boom. And the idea that the American dream was reachable, was accessible to many, many people. And that's where we do get this idea of the white picket fence and the husband, wife, and two kids. But today, we're going to also try to make a lot of connections between what we're reading and today. The idea of the American dream is fiercely debated. Is there truly a class mobility? Meaning, if you grew up in one social economic class, do you have really the opportunity to move beyond it? And does the dream exist, or how has the dream altered today? And I think that's where we're going to stop our PowerPoint presentation. As I said, there are going to be a couple of links to one link to a song, and I want you to try to listen to the song lyrics and reflect on the song. And then we're going to watch a New York Times video, which I think we did show earlier this year when we first addressed the idea of the American dream. It's several years old, but it is interesting to hear what some people say and over what they believe overall about the American dream. So thank you for listening to the PowerPoint. I am going to also be posting links to the text of Mice and Men, as well as an audio version, but an e-text and an audio version. And I would like you to go ahead and start to read, but on Wednesday I will post additional information to help you get through the first chapter. Okay, thanks guys, and I look forward to reading your reflections based on what we've done today.